On October 7, 2023, we woke up to a war. The scale of casualties is staggering. 300,000 evacuees, 1,400 dead, and 240 kidnapped. This crisis, this trauma, poses unprecedented challenges to Israel's social services that require immediate action. Israel's leading center for applied social research, the Myers-JDC-Brookdale Institute, has partnered with the Ministry of Welfare and Social Affairs and with local authorities to produce this video. It highlights the work of social service professionals caring for affected communities, families, and individuals in this traumatic reality.
Amidst the chaos of the first week, thousands of people were missing, and the dead had to be identified. It takes days, sometimes even weeks. The needs are endless. From basics like clothes and baby food, to dealing with uncertainty and loss and grief in massive numbers.
Since October 7th, we are dealing with a lot of cases of trauma.
The demand for our work is rising, and a lot of our workers cannot work because they have been recruited or they had a major personal loss. The one who can work also really traumatized and lost their personal security, so they have a lot of blind spots when they're treating someone with the same trauma. Another new challenge that we got here is that all of us witnessed these horrible things that happened. One of too many stories is mom of one of our patients that her daughter got tortured and raped and killed through the phone. We got too many cases of people that witnessed these atrocities live.
The ministry established 3 call centers in which social workers initiated phone calls to the family and friends of the missing to offer support, better understand their needs, and create appropriate responses and services. At that time, we didn't have any information about their loved ones and undertook to offer our availability, emotional support, and in some cases, just a little bit of hope to people overcome with grief, anxiety, anger, and sadness.
Since the terror attack, our employees are working over the clock to give answer to the kids of Jerusalem and to teenagers and youth that are coming from up north the country and south.
Since the outbreak of the war on October 7th, all our roles in the welfare administration have been converted. You could say we've been recruited to a new purpose, which is to provide a response to the emergency situation in the country. We are operating in 2 contexts. First, we have evacuees arriving from southern Israel as well as from the north, who suffered heavy losses and have been traumatized severely. The very fact that they have been displaced in their own country requires special preparations. There are therapeutic social worker teams in all hotels who are prepared to offer preliminary concrete interventions as well as to provide emotional interventions. A highly complex and sensitive operation. Second, we have an entire unit that deals with the missing persons and causalities. From day one, we have been contacting families of missing persons and supporting them for the moment the person is considered missing. This task requires tremendous sensitivity. It also requires a large team. We don't want to allocate a few social workers to the same task, but they rather have many share the burden, given the risk of secondary traumatization. In addition, we have the inhabitants themselves, the people of Netanya in this case, who suffer from anxiety, uncertainty, the school closure, all of which require social preparations on our part. Social workers in all of the country's municipalities are devoted. The Ministry of Welfare is right there at the front, joined by the mental health and psychological educational services and others.
As a child protection social worker, I fear we're not always able to detect and reach the children who need our help.
There's a lot of effects in the long term and the short term that we're going to see dropping from school and using drugs, and a lot of things that we're trying to work now to prevent in the future.
Another thing is welfare cases that are gonna get worse. People losing right now their jobs, their saving. They don't know if and when they're gonna come back to their houses.
We're establishing right now a therapeutic center. This center will rely on all the volunteers currently arriving with great motivation and passion, as we realize that our teams will not be able to continue in this pace so many months. As an expert on early childhood trauma, I personally don't really sleep at night. The implications of this invasion into a private space, children who have witnessed their parents being murdered or kidnapped, children who've been kidnapped with every passing day, causing irreparable damage to their emotional development. We should prepare ourselves for months, in fact, years of national trauma in Israel, in which each of us will cope on a different level. We have a very large group of people in southern Israel who have been dramatically traumatized, injured by these events. We will have to consider how our welfare and mental health services, already understaffed and overburdened as it is, will be able to provide for thousands of new families added to the community of trauma and loss. This affects every one of us. I expect to see high degrees of burnout among my teams with a lot of secondary traumatization. We're already trying to prepare for that. I'm trying to make sure that everyone participates in dialogue and sharing groups to prevent a burnout.